What if I told you that not even over a decade ago, just 12 years back in 2013, there was still a segregated prom happening in Georgia? Here's the story, and once you hear it, you won't believe it. Because this isn't some throwback to the 1950s. This is the age of iPhones, social media, and modern technology. And yet, in Wilcox County, Georgia, black kids and white kids were still being told they couldn't attend the same prom. One prom for them, one prom for us. That's not history. It's the present showing us just how alive racism still is. Scope News presents Wilcox County, a small rural county in South Georgia that most of the nation had never heard of until 2013, when students there organized the first integrated prom. Up until that moment, proms had been privately run and racially divided. School officials never intervened. Parents defended the tradition. It took the courage of a few teenagers to say enough is enough, to rent their own space and invite everyone together. When the story broke, it shocked the nation. Segregated proms in 2013. The reason the prom had stayed segregated for so long was because the county insisted on calling them private events. By keeping them outside the official control of the school, parents could decide who was welcome and who wasn't. For decades, that meant two separate proms, one for white students and one for black students. Teachers and administrators claimed their hands were tied. Nobody in power wanted to challenge it, so the system lived on. But by 2013, a group of seniors finally said no. They decided that if the adults wouldn't act, they would. They pooled their money, organized a prom open to everyone, and forced the county to reckon with its past. That night didn't just end a tradition of segregation, it exposed it to the world. Their courage put Wilcox County on the map, not for progress, but for how far behind it really was. But here's the thing. This didn't come out of nowhere. The soil of South Georgia is heavy with racism and terror. Wilcox County sits in the same region where some of the most infamous lynchings in American history took place. In 1918, just across the county line, Mary Turner was lynched after speaking out against her husband's murder. She was 8 months pregnant when a white mob burned her, hung her upside down, and cut the child from her body. Crowds cheered. Nobody was punished. That lynching became a defining case in Southern history, studied for its brutality, but also remembered for the silence that followed. And that wasn't the only one. Throughout the early 1900s, South Georgia's courtrooms became symbols of injustice. Trials across these counties followed the same script: black defendants railroaded by all-white juries, white killers excused by the system. These weren't isolated events, they were a culture. That's the shadow hanging over Wilcox County. When people wondered how segregated proms could exist in 2013, the answer is simple. Because this is a place where justice was never blind, where black lives were treated as disposable, and where silence about racism became tradition. The proms weren't just about dances. They were about who was allowed to share space, to be seen, to be equal. And for decades, the answer was, not here. On April 27, 2013, that wall finally cracked. A handful of Wilcox County seniors, led by Mareshia Rucker, Quenisha Wallace, and Brandon Davis, decided that if the adults wouldn't integrate the prom, they would. They created a Facebook page called Love Has No Color, Integrated Prom, and within days it exploded with tens of thousands of followers and more than $15,000 in donations. Suddenly, the world was watching this tiny Georgia town. Teachers whispered, signs were torn down, and some parents fumed, but the students kept going. Mareshia, who had been crowned homecoming queen alongside a white king, said she couldn't accept a school that celebrated them together in the fall, but forced them apart in the spring. When the night of April 27th came, black and white classmates finally danced in the same room, while across town, some white parents still hosted a private whites-only prom. The next year, under national scrutiny, Wilcox County High School itself finally sponsored an official, fully integrated prom, ending a Jim Crow tradition that had survived nearly 60 years beyond the Supreme Court's order to desegregate schools. So when you put it in context, the 2013 segregated prom is not just a bizarre footnote. It's the modern face of a very old truth. While kids across America were posting pictures on social media, students in Wilcox County were still being divided by skin color, carrying the weight of a Jim Crow system that had never really been dismantled. Think about that. Just 12 years ago, not your grandparents' time, yours, ours. And the fact that it only ended because students defied their parents and their school shows just how deep the denial runs. Racism wasn't gone. It was waiting in the gymnasium, dressed up for prom night. Scope News tells the truth. Here are the facts. Reporting in 2013 confirmed that Wilcox County's proms were kept segregated because they were considered private events, allowing parents to enforce racial separation. It was only when a group of seniors organized their own prom that black and white students in the county finally shared the same dance floor. The Mary Turner Project documents the infamous 1918 lynching near Valdosta, which still casts a shadow over South Georgia. Trial records from the early 20th century detail cases of black men railroaded by all-white juries and white mobs going unpunished, shaping the region's reputation for injustice. Together, they explain how a county could still cling to segregation in the 21st century. Legal disclaimer. This content is for educational, informational, and entertainment purposes. Viewer discretion is advised, as the topics discussed involve disturbing elements of racial violence and injustice that may be triggering. Scope News strives to present history accurately, but some accounts are limited by documentation and oral history. This report is not made to incite hate, but to shine a light on truths America has tried to bury. Racism is not dead. It is still present, still adapting, and still shaping lives today. The views expressed in this report are intended to raise awareness about historical and modern injustices, not to target or vilify any individual or community. Scope News highlights stories that are often overlooked, misrepresented, or erased, so that they are remembered and discussed in their full weight. While every effort is made to ensure accuracy, interpretations of past events may vary based on available sources. We encourage audiences to continue researching these topics, engaging critically, and recognizing the ongoing impact of racism in shaping institutions, communities, and lives. Thank you for watching Scope News.